My name is John Bergman. I work in the Dynamics 365 for finance and operations. This might be the last time I'll say that all end-to-end, but I work for the FinOps R&D organization, work on our product planning and strategy across the suite. With me today I have Eugene. Eugene's going to be my demo expert. We've got a couple of demos, 3 demos to show you, kind of an end-to-end Dynamics 365 for finance and ops demo, as well as one about our intelligent financials and kind of where we're heading with finance and how we're embedding intelligence in Power BI within finance. And then at the end, we've got kind of a future state demo that we're working across our team on intelligent operations, intelligent manufacturing. So looking forward to showing those to you today. So first of all, I want to say thank you. Thank you for investing in the time to come here, learn about Dynamics operations, finance and ops. If you're a partner, thank you very much for the work that you've done in bringing our solutions to the cloud. If you're a customer, thank you even more for coming on this journey with us. And as attendees in general, just thank you for picking this session this morning to spend your morning with us. So you may have seen James talk about this, and I'm going to kind of riff and build on some of the things you may have already heard yesterday at the conference around digital transformation, how Dynamics 365 is addressing that. James used the example of the manufacturing automotive industry yesterday being disrupted on a number of different pivots. So one around automotive industry in general in the shift from the combustion engine to electric, with Tesla and a number of others, being disrupted from a business model perspective with ride sharing, Uber, Lyft, and all the other ride sharing programs out there, being disrupted in car sharing, Zipcar, BMW Reach Now, amongst at least a dozen other ride sharing or car sharing companies out there where you can literally own a car and use it by the mile, or share a car and use it by the mile. And disruption, I want to carry that a little bit further because it's not just disruption within an industry, it's a disruption across industry. So if we just continue the way in which customers or people are using their automobiles and in the insurance industry. Traditionally, you bought insurance on your car, you paid every 6 months, you had a thing. If you were a great driver, it might reduce just a little bit. If you were not so great, it actually went up quite a bit. Insurance industry is now looking at new business models to apply to the consumption of a car and looking at insurance by the mile. They put a little GPS tracker or a mileage tracker in your car, and they bill you monthly based on the mileage that you consume. Even going into government and starting to look at how governments are changing the way in which we consume our automobiles. For instance, I'll use state of Washington as an example because that's where I'm from. Washington has paid for its infrastructure and roads through a gas tax for years. Now that mileage is going up on cars, there's a shift to hybrid and electric. That income from the gas tax to pay for infrastructure is going away. They're looking at new business models, actually have implemented new business models in the last few years about tolling, right? Because that's an old business model, and transportation in government is an old business model. But they're actually now starting to also take an example from the insurance industry and apply on a voluntary basis to pay by mile your utilization tax of our public roadways in the state of Washington. So disruption in industries in transition, it's not just, you can pick one, there's disruption going on. But actually that disruption is carrying across industries with business models and technology. So I wanted to talk a little bit also about that, how that disruption and digital transformation is impacting how we in certain roles and how the business decision makers in looking at technology and looking at solutions, how this digital transformation journey is impacting us. We used to, in the past, and maybe sometimes today, we kind of look at what happened. We take the data, we analyze and say, okay, this is what's happened. Let's not do that again. Let's adjust our processes so that we're better going forward. And then it shifted in with a little bit of intelligence by combining data. Why did it happen? We did some analysis and said, okay, we understand now why that happened. We can adjust our processes going forward to avoid that scenario in the future. Within the last few years, we've started bringing in intelligence and machine learning. And now we're asking questions of the data to say, what and why is it likely to happen? So what is likely to happen given this supply chain complexity? And I can look at demand signal and forecast signal and production signal, and I can look at how I can fulfill my orders. So we're looking into what is happening and why is it likely to happen. And in the future, we want to shift to more of a how can we? Right, and shifting away from what happened to how can we make it happen with all this signal, with all this data, with all this intelligence that we're bringing into the applications. So for the CFO, that disruption is going from tracking revenue. It used to be about cost controls and compliance. The finance had a role called controller, right? It's about cost controls and compliance. And it was about how do we drive new customer revenue. Now it's about that lifetime value of the customer. A lot of these industries and businesses are moving to that subscription type. How do we continually drive the value of the customer? And then let's take a standard process of month-end close, period-end close, month-end, quarter, and year-end. It was about how can we close a day faster? How do we just close a little bit faster so that we can get the insights in that data to actually make decisions in our forecast going forward into the next period and adjustments in that forecast in the next period. Now it's about closing continuously, enabling the processes and data and insights so that you can actually close continuously and know exactly where you're at. And instead of adjusting your budget semi-annually, you're now continually adjusting as you go forward based on the signal and demand you get across. Same thing in manufacturing and the COO. It's shifting from building products to building products and enabling services around those. It's around, still wanting to deliver on time, in full, and on target, not picking one of those, but actually all of those across all of your organizations. Retail shifting, obviously, we used to look at transactions and how do we drive transactions. And now we're trying to monetize that lifetime customer engagement. So all the engagement points you have across all your retail channels, how do you optimize and engage that customer continuously throughout their lifetime? It's not a single transaction that you're driving. It's the end-to-end lifetime value across all the touch points that you have with that particular person. And then take the chief people officer or the VP of HR. When we traditionally look for talent, so we get a job description and we blast it out and we wait for people to apply. And it's like, the traditional metric, who applied, and then I'll filter that to find the best person for my organization. It's now shifting. It's like I post a role, I now have, if you will, a passive pipeline. I'm looking at who is the best fit for this role versus, filtering down someone to find someone to fit the organization. And so on and on. There's disruption going across all different organizations. And so I won't drain this because I think you've probably seen us talk about digital transformation and how that's impacting everybody. But to me, it's less about talking about technology as the enabler, but driving towards the outcomes of that. And it is technology and it's data that power that digital transformation. And we'll talk about through today with some of the demos and some of the discussions how we're bringing that data, how we're bringing software that will help you in your digital transformation journey, whether that's across finance, supply chain and operations, retail, HR, whatever it happens to be within your organization. So, challenges in traditional systems. Everyone has a set of applications. They're somewhat isolated, somewhat disconnected, and you've likely connected them through a data warehouse, a whole bunch of connections and interconnected processes. So they're isolated, disconnected, and it creates and drives a lot of integration across that. They can be complex. I'm not saying they all are, but they can be complex, can be difficult to deploy. And then, in a traditional role and traditional model, update and upgrade, you might skip one or two because of the complexity of taking that upgrade. In the future and with Dynamics 365, what we're driving away from is these disconnected monolithic applications to modular modern business applications, all with connected graphs and data. If you saw Satya's keynote yesterday, and if you saw James, we talked about how the Dynamics 365 graph, the Office graph, and the LinkedIn graph enable new scenarios across that data set that drive ways in which you can drive digital transformation within your organization. And then the logic and extensibility with the business application platform that we have within Dynamics 365 around a common data model with Power Apps, Flow, and Power BI to enable extensions and differentiated experiences for you as a customer. And that leads to Dynamics 365, which is a set of modular, modern business applications, brings CRM and ERP together into choosing what you want, when you want, where you want, surrounded by the rest of Microsoft, the best of Microsoft, from an Office 365 through Cortana Intelligence, through, as I mentioned, our business application platform with Common Data Service, Power Apps, and Flow, and then driven on the top with AppSource, which is a marketplace for our partners to deliver ISV and SI services to you as customers, where you can quickly find and consume applications within your deployment. And today, specifically, we're going to be talking about finance operations, a little bit about talent and retail as parts of this new suite. Talent and retail were, launched earlier this summer in July. So I'll just touch briefly on those, and at the end, I'll talk to you about sessions, many more sessions on retail and talent that you can attend today to learn a little bit more about those new applications. We've had great momentum. We have been on the cloud for about a little over a year and a half with Dynamics. Brought Dynamics AX forward to the cloud a year and a half ago, now Dynamics 365. I just wanted to touch with you. We look at it, every customer that we bring out on the cloud, we want to be a reference. So there's a couple here across a number of industries. There's a complete list. This deck will be available to you. The link is at the bottom. If you go to dynamics.microsoft.com, you can actually find, for any customer that we have, references, your industry, your region, learn a little bit more about how customers are using Dynamics 365 finance and operations to transform their business, and look for examples of how that can help you. And then, as I mentioned, AppSource. Tremendous momentum with AppSource. We add literally a solution every day. 140 plus are listed as of last night when I updated this slide. And I know we have dozens and dozens, if not actually over 100 partner solutions in process going through the certification to get published on AppSource. And it just makes our ecosystem is important to us within Dynamics 365 and for our customers and partners, and it makes it easier for you to find specific solutions to solve the challenges that you're facing within your application portfolio. So I am going to bring up Eugene right now. One of the things I wanted to do before we dove into talking about how we look at the priorities within Dynamics 365 for finance and operations, our roadmap, the technology that we're bringing out over the next 6 and 12 months, is show you a demo of kind of what it looks like from the end-to-end processes within Dynamics 365. And you're off of this one, right? Yep. Did we say 7? Nope.
No, that's America's.
Nope. We'll find the right one here in a sec. There we go.
All right. As you saw, we have a lot of mobile apps. So I wanted to give you just a brief overview that gives you a touch and feel for Dynamics. It is an overview across multiple areas. I'm going to demonstrate an end-to-end process, giving you some context. So, for example, the Dynamics, this module, this ERP system, it started in a small country. It started in Denmark. That's why certain parts were designed to be very, very important. For example, multi-currency and multi-company, which we'll see a little bit through the demo. we are injecting intelligence into our system. For a long time, Dynamics had no demand planning. Then we used the SQL algorithms, which were not terribly extensible. And now we are using Azure machine learning. Out of the box, we're providing you with a model that is extensible, and what it does today, it analyzes your history and finds the right pattern that matches. It selects about from 5 algorithms that most tightly match the previous history and comes up with the confidence and projection into the future. In this graph, we see that there are quarterly spikes, and they will likely to continue in future. So what Dynamics does with this data, it creates planned orders to satisfy that demand that we saw. The planned orders could be satisfied by transfers, production, or purchases. And today I'm going to take you through a flow from how do we purchase an item, what happens when we receive the item, and how do we ship it out to fulfill an order. It's going to be a little bit of data entry, but it will give you a real feel for the system. Dynamics has many, many modules. And as any ERP system, it has traditional modules like accounts payable, accounts receivable, general ledger, and of course, production, where we are really, really strong because we're one of a few, if not the only system, that can handle 3 modes of manufacturing in one system, which is discrete, lean, and process in one application. So I'm going to go and take a look at my accounts payable where my purchase orders live. I'm going to create a brand new purchase order. And then I'm going to specify where I want these items to arrive. They will go to my warehouse 24. Then I'm going to punch in the item name, the one that you saw the demand for, and basically save the line. What happens next is sometime later, this order arrives. And which one is the mirrorcast? 8?
I believe so. Yeah.
Okay,
Nope.
7.
7.
All right. So sometimes later, this order will arrive. And this is a purpose-built app. And for the technical audience, it's built using Xamarin. So we didn't have to rebuild it for different platforms. It's available in Windows Store as well as an Android store. And we had to only build it once. So I'm going to punch in the order ID. Unfortunately, the Bluetooth scanner refused to collaborate with me. So, but typically, you'll just scan a barcode of the paperwork that came with the order itself. 6:52. Yep, and then the item ID, and you typically scan these things too. And then signify the quantity that you're receiving. What's neat about the system is that right now I'm doing everything in a manual mode, and I'm selecting how many units I'm receiving and all of that. But our system also has a lot of connectivity. So we have OData endpoints so that you could feed an EDI document into this. And EDI document is an advanced shipping notice, the electronic document that defines what is on its way. And as part of such a definition, there's going to be a license plate ID for the box or the pallet that contains these items. So if you have such a definition, all you have to do is just scan and go. And if you trust the vendor, you don't have to verify. You're immediately going to be able to use that and put us in the warehouse. So right now, the work has completed. Imagine I'm a warehouse receiving clerk, and I have a printer somewhere. It's either on a desk or on my belt, that it actually printed out a label for me. If I switch back to the system, you could see that the warehouse got the information real time that I already received these items, and this is my long auto-generated target license plate ID. And I will switch back and complete the put away, because for me it's kind of really interesting. And it's interesting for me just because of my background. So I'm going to enter this. And what happens here is the system directs me to take it from my bay door, from my location, receiving location in this case, and place it to a different location. Right now I'm going to confirm that I'm picking this item up. If I have more place on my forklift, or where I have a big dolly, I can grab more boxes. But then it directs me to go and put these items into location FL02. How the system determines this is very, very flexible. So we can scale from very simple stock rooms into complex warehouses. It does that by running lots of queries, which define where the items should go. It could be, for example, my cold freezer item go to this part of the warehouse, my dry items go to that part of the warehouse, and complicated logic like this. For example, if you have a new vendor and the items are new, using these queries, you can define that for this item, I must run a quality check, things like that. So with that in mind, I have the item already in the warehouse. And let's attempt to go ahead and sell it.
Do you want to switch?
Yes. Let's go ahead and sell this and see how we funnel through the inventory through the system. So again, I can sell it to my valuable customers, and I will probably use Renault and sell them a 3D scanner. Why not? Then we could see the requested dates and available to promise and things like, and interesting data like this. The warehouse defaulted, so everything looks good. I'm gonna sell them one, save the line, and release it to the warehouse. We have load building capabilities, and with the load building, you can build the whole definition of trucks and release multiple orders that they fit in the truck. We have a definition of how long the truck is, how tall it is, and also how much weight it can handle. And this way, we are able to accommodate for very large volume operations. When I release to the warehouse, what happens and what is interesting, we optimize the work for the pickers. And I usually don't read these messages, but I like this one because it tells you exactly what is going on. Is we actually are creating a wave, and that's a warehouse term, that groups the orders together and breaks them down to individual tasks that the workers can go and execute on the handheld devices. And if you have material handling equipment, this is also, because of our extensibility, we're able to push out the input for things like carousels or pick-to-light systems. So the work has been created, and as a warehouse worker, I'm going to go ahead and switch to my outbound work. And we have multiple methodologies. For example, for very simple operations, it's enough for me to have the list of tasks and I'll pick what I want to work on and things like that. But for complex operations, I need to guide the systems to react to my orders or new situations and prioritize orders. So this way, I will use the system-directed picking. And now, as you see, it goes and directs me to that FL02, to that location where I did put away the items initially, and to get that specific item. If only I remembered that loan license plate. I think it was 21. If you want to reuse the license plate that the pallet already had, you're able to do that, and you don't have to auto-generate the new ones. So then, as I pick this, it directs me to go and put this item to the bay door. We have definitions of multiple bay doors. And also, we have a definition of a schedule for that bay door. So when the truck arrives, we can check in and direct him to the right door. And also, conversely, we're able to build different loads at different bay doors, where it's important, because if I have large volume, I need to know where to stage the items. And I'm not going to cancel. I'm going to confirm. And the work has been completed. So if I take a look at the line, and I'm spoiled, I have to switch myself. Okay, so with the warehouse and let's say work details, we see that these tiny tasks, which were a part of the waves, are updated immediately because we're working with the same database at all times. And that's why it's a real-time system. So with this in mind, this is a brief overview of a look and feel of the system and how we work with inventory and pull that through. And we'll have more demos for other aspects later.
If I can remember which number this is. I'm going to hit every button up here until it shows up. It's not one. There we go. All right, so what I wanted to show there was, you know, the end-to-end scenario of the product, right? Is you look at demand signal, look some of that intelligence we have built in with demand forecasting, machine learning, see those products, see where the demand is, say, oh, I've got to go create a requisition or a purchase order, I'll go buy those products. We show how we can use the extensibility and the purpose-built mobile applications on a very specific device. So in this case, the receiving clerk, we did it on a phone, but our customers use rich, you know, barcode-embedded devices that are purpose-built for that receiving clerk to go in and receive those goods, get that in. We look at the scheduling. We create a demand for that, and then we show you how the pick, pack, ship warehouse worker can use that same application, same infrastructure to ship that product out to a customer to meet that customer's demands. So great end-to-end story. Thanks, Eugene, for that. And so now I want to shift a little bit into, all right, so how do we look at what we build and what strategies we do? What is our roadmap? What are some of the new investments around intelligence within finance and intelligence within operations that we're going to show you here in a minute? How do we set that up? So I want to tell you, there's 4 areas and primary areas from a product investment strategy we look at how we invest in the future. There's multiple ways in which we get that information, and I'll talk about that as well. But that is system telemetry, our partners, our customers, and then obviously market signal. But we like to look at everything that we do about building new functionality within the product is customer driven. And it can be customer driven off of telemetry that we gain from their cloud service it's running, where we understand, you know, how they're using that system and the demands on that system, obviously the challenges we might have with that system and how we we can look at that. We have ideas.dynamics.com, which is a community for users, and I'll share that information towards the end, where customers and partners request features, and we interact with the customers in that environment and actually look at how we can deliver those in the product and whatnot. But we use 4 pillars. We look at intelligence and how we embed analytics and intelligence throughout the application. We looked at productive experiences. So this is about the functionality we're delivering across the business processes that we have within Dynamics 365. We absolutely and must leverage the power of Microsoft's cloud scale. So the value we gain from the rest of Microsoft from our cloud technology. And then enabling you to do business anytime, anywhere, on any device. And how we do that from localization, regulatory compliance, mobility, and delivering you those capabilities. And we do that across finance and our cross-product, and then talent and retail, which I'm not going to focus a ton on today. There's sessions this week on both of those applications. They're still part of Dynamics 365. They're still integrated throughout our portfolio of applications. So I'll touch on them a little bit as new applications that we just shipped, and I'll give you a little bit of view on those. So retail. So we've been in retail for quite some time, had applications that were part of our portfolio, and what we've done as of July 1st is made that available directly to customers as a standalone offer. Taking the commerce runtime, store HQ, the point of sale, delivering omni-channel retail experiences to customers. And there are several sessions this week. I'd encourage you to attend that to learn a little bit more about how we're delivering value to our global retailers. And then Dynamics 365 for talent. Brand new application. It's leveraging a lot of the existing core HR capabilities that we did have within Dynamics 365 for operations. But this is about how do we actually deliver new experiences for companies that are looking to transform their people processes. As you may recall, Microsoft acquired LinkedIn last year. So this is heavily influenced by the talent solutions within LinkedIn's portfolio around recruiting and learning. So the first 2 applications we actually brought to market with Dynamics 365 for talent at the end of July were around, we call Attract, which is around how do you land the best talent and collaborate across focusing on the hiring manager and the candidate, and how that collaborative process of once the application comes in to the offer letter, how that's a collaborative process. So from the candidate, it's not looking at the applicant tracking system as a black hole where I submit my resume and application, and then whether the company contacts me or not, or how the interaction is, we're providing very transparent processes, and then enabling the hiring manager to collaborate across the interview team. And then the second application we brought forward is onboarding, and how first day, first month, first year experiences for employees. It's not just a set of activities, but how you get engaged and feel like you're part of the team. There's statistics of 30% of new hires decide to leave a company within the first 6 months, and 17 do within the first 90 days because they don't feel like they're part of the organization engaged. And so that's what we're trying to accomplish with Onboard. And we're even using these applications inside Microsoft for both hiring and onboarding employees. So real exciting. A couple of sessions this week as well, so I encourage you to learn a little bit more. So let's talk about intelligent insights. So the way that we're approaching intelligent insights, and we'll demo some of this with finance, is analytics, embedded Power BI throughout the application that reflect the entire business. So it's no longer about having to connect out to a warehouse, build a report on top of that, and then go somewhere else to view that data. With embedded Power BI directly in our workspaces, with 20 plus and more we're adding all the time, that data is embedded directly for you right in the application, click of a button, drill through filters, the ability to actually interact with that data in real time. So once a transaction occurred, it's within seconds, it's available to you in that embedded Power BI. It's about driving some of the intelligence in there, which if you I think we showed it, or if you've seen it before, we added some intelligence in credit and collections around payment risk. So we're looking at a set of data, we're looking at a set of customers, we're looking at credit limits, we're looking at payments outstanding, and we're applying a little bit of logic there to help you analyze who is most at risk and giving you some indicators so that you can actually kick off certain processes to manage those. So building those predictive analytics in there, and we're focusing on bringing more and more of that to you as customers. You saw a little bit of the demand forecasting that we had within supply chain. Being able to take that demand signal in, look at the impacts of those signals, and then making decisions on production and ordering and supply around responding to those signals. So again, 20 plus analytical workspaces, embedded Power BI directly within the application, right at line of sight of your business, extremely powerful. Great demo, by the way. Really excited about that. And so I'll bring Eugene back up to walk us through what we're doing within intelligent financial insights and reporting.
All right. So I'll switch to the right demo. And I think it's going to be 7.
Nope.
Okay.
We'll hit every button until we get it.
All right. So for this demo, I'll be playing the role of a CFO. As a CFO, it's very important for me to stay on top of key financial metrics. And it's easy for me to do just because this particular workspace, it pulls information from about 10 different reports and lists, and it provides me a different perspective since I can see all of the data together. It also has a snapshot of a trial balance informing me about my assets, liabilities, and expenses. If we take a closer look at the balance sheet insights, and it does that to me again, so let me refresh this thing. It times out if it sits on stage. Sorry.
The risks of live demos.
Yeah. So in the balance sheet insights, I'm able to see the information about my assets and liabilities. And for CFOs, a typical struggle is reporting this across multiple legal entities. And we tackle this challenge by providing you with a set of filters that allow you to select the companies you want to report. Because modern companies are a little bit more complicated than just one brand name. They do have certain other legal structures. And for global companies, it's especially true because you have, for example, in this data set, there is a German company, DMF, which is using a completely different currency. But AX, Dynamics is exceptionally strong in multi-company and multi-currency reporting. Sorry, it still slips. 14 years. It's really difficult for me to. All right. So on this report, you're able to see where we're doing business, where these legal entities are doing business. And you could see that my manufacturing company, USMF, is doing business mostly in Texas and in Georgia and some in Minnesota. But it's not just a pretty visual. It is a very helpful filter for me to go in and investigate my expenses. For example, I see that my project organization that runs more than 100 projects is doing most business in Ontario and is very expensive. So I want to drill in and take a closer look. I heard that there is an important project, an important Toronto project that I want to take a look at, a closer look. So I'm going to drill through, and what the system does for me is it applies all the right filters. So this way, I don't have to remember the country code, the province code, and especially the project IDs. So I can visually navigate to the data and get to it way faster than just looking up project codes. And also, I'm able to include more data and take a look at the progression of transactions over time. And this way, I'm able to see month-to-month comparisons and derive my own conclusions. For example, I see that the expenses are a little bit too high, and I want to investigate further. With a simple click, I am taken to the source transactions. And these are not the traditional uber detailed GL postings in the journals. These are meaningful documents. These are the invoices and the corresponding lines. And for example, I see that this one has a price discrepancy, and it was marked such as a system. So I want to follow up with the project manager to see what's going on there. In order to do this, as a true and trained accountant, I have to send him a table, an Excel spreadsheet. And in this way, we are able to export the data very easily and email it to a person. I just wonder where it is. Oh, I already had it open. Okay, so of course, sharing capabilities and all that. And if you have these features, you are able also to share securely so that this information doesn't go out into places you don't want to. So this way, we're able to go back and forth in the system. And I'm going to refresh the views. What you just saw is the ability to get straight to the source of information. And the visuals, they provide me with a very powerful way to filter my data and take me directly to the source document. You also see the ability that the system can take the data from multiple legal entities, multiple reports and data sources, and marry this into a unified workspace that provides me with actionable insight. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Eugene. So pretty powerful. Taking the analytical dashboards that we have with embedded Power BI within our workspaces within Dynamics 365, the ability to actually pull that data together, actually drill down into the actual source transactions directly. You're in our application. You're not leaving our application to go do any analytical work. It's right here in the application, the power, and directly available to you within your work and within the context. So the next area that we focus on is productivity, right? Those productive experiences that we do around, by doing things like the embedded analytics, delivering functionality to users within the interface of the application, it gives employees much more ability to actually drive productivity and efficiency and engagement within the application. So that actionable data, insights, right? You're not going to a ton of different places. If you can start in a dashboard and drill down into a transaction rather than navigating through a bunch of screens to get to a transaction, the insights and productivity are much stronger. Personalization, we don't touch on it in the demo, but the ability to personalize the dashboard for you, right? Eugene gets to see, he's an admin of the application, he gets to see everything there, but based on your role, you have a set of things, and you can pin additional things to favorites to your dashboard so that you're instantly available from a productivity perspective to go right to the things that are important to you. You see the activities and tasks that are assigned to you, and you just become much more productive rather than having to navigate through to get to work. Integration, and then productivity with Office and LinkedIn, which is LinkedIn scenarios are coming. But with the Office, as I said, interaction with Excel, interaction with Skype and Presence, and collaboration across the application are things that we drive around the productivity. As I mentioned, workspaces, productivity within financials. We saw some of the work that we're doing in the future, but these are some recent deliverables from July and that we did around cash flow forecasting. A bunch of mobile apps, so purpose-built mobile apps around expense, timesheets approvals, purchase order, invoice approvals, and then Actually have mobile on there twice. I apologize there. Cut and paste. A little bit late work on the deck. And then within manufacturing, supply chain distribution, cost accounting was delivered earlier this year. Vendor collaboration, some things that we're doing and delivered in July, and doing some enhanced capabilities there where you're able to, within the application, interact and manage your vendor relationships and vendor associations. Visual scheduling, so Gantt chart was a highly requested set of features, so that was delivered in July. And then Eugene actually showed you the mobile warehouse app that we delivered. I'll wait till we get a picture taken here. This deck should be available to you as well. Cloud scale. Let's talk about cloud scale. A lot of what we do around cloud scale is how we deliver the management of the services for you as a customer and or your partner on behalf of you, in how we manage the application lifecycle in the cloud and the services you drive in the cloud. And we call that lifecycle services. It's a pretty powerful application around driving your implementation methodology, your implementation stages, you're managing your production instance, the telemetry on that production instance, the servicing of that production instance, as well as any and all upgrade, update, and compliance activities that we're driving for you in that. It gives you a centralized place. With business process modeling tools in there, your ability to actually use those tools to modify the existing processes seamlessly and easily with a drag and drop interface, and create the configuration that gets deployed in production. So the purpose in the driver on this is giving you faster, higher quality, more repeatable implementations, that time to value. I've been in the ERP business for way too long. And I can remember projects that spanned multiple years to implement business applications. Sometimes you do need to do that, and still need to do that from a change management and disruption of your business. But when you're able to actually stand up an instance of your ERP in the cloud and gain value in a certain application space in a matter of weeks versus months, it's pretty powerful. And then agility, right? So one of the things about business applications is, sometimes they're a point in time. You deploy them, and then you want to get the value out of those. So, continually enhancing and update those are disruptive to your business, because every time there's an app update, you have to test against that. If you've got customizations, and extensions on that, you want to make sure everything works. We're driving towards enabling business agility for you as a customer with continuous updates so that you can stay current. And it's not a painful process to stay current, right? Moving from code overlaying to extensions allows us to actually update and keep you relevant as a customer with new functionality and new features that help you stay competitive in your particular industry and market at a much more agile pace, so to speak. And with those extension models, your partner solutions that are out there are decoupled from the version that we're delivering, and they can innovate at pace as well. So they're not relying on deep, tight integration. And then, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, and how we kind of look at features and functions and utilization, it's around telemetry of that cloud platform, self-healing. We can fix things before you even know they happen if something occurs, with some self-healing processes, diagnostics, right? You as a customer can actually give us diagnostics on what you were doing to help speed up the troubleshooting with cloud support, cloud-powered support, so that if you do run into a problem, we can fix it much faster, because you're able to give us the data that allows us to look into the telemetry and understand what happened and fix it pretty quickly and seamlessly. So a couple of updates there that we've done on the cloud platform, Key Vault Data Encryption, which is an Azure function that we've adopted. The integration across applications, so with the Common Data Service, so we've started the prospect to cache with Dynamics 365 for sales. Application extensibility, so this is a big thing for us as we move to what we call cloud-safe extensions. So the ability to keep you current on your current version of the application. We deliver more and more extension points for you to customize off of or extend off of, and partners to extend off of from an ISV and a deployment perspective. And then if you're an existing customer, we delivered a significant amount of things around how you can bring forward your earlier instances to the cloud with Dynamics 365. Mentioned app source already, and then localization. So I'll talk a little bit about what we do around that, but compliance, moving compliance away from code to configuration. So you no longer have to take apply an update from a code perspective. You're applying a configuration with an effective date. And so it's just much easier and lower cost and becomes, if you will, a slight competitive advantage as you're able to actually stay compliant in a much easier way without having to actually apply code fixes. So I want to touch on deployment options real quickly. We brought Dynamics AX to the cloud, as I mentioned, about 20 months ago, March of 2016. Trying to remember what year it was, fiscal versus calendar. So March of 2016, March 1st. And it's been a great experience for us in bringing tons of customers onto that and many more that are in current deployment scenarios. And we built tons of capabilities around telemetry servicing, and we're delivering more and more around how we're enabling you as a customer to actually monitor and manage and keep your instance and environment current. On July 1st, we delivered what we call local business data, which allows you as a customer to actually deploy on-prem. You made the hardware investments in capital. Same application as it's a cloud. It's not a different application. It's just a different deployment endpoint for us. Now, certainly there is functionality that the machine learning and Power BI capabilities that rely on the cloud to run. They're not part of the local business data deployment. But in those cases, if you did feel you want to take advantage of the power of Power Apps, or sorry, of Power BI from a data perspective, you can still connect all that stuff up. And then we've been talking about Cloud Plus Edge. And I'll state, we're going to continue to talk about Cloud Plus Edge. So Cloud Plus Edge was about, we've done an initial deployment of Cloud Plus Edge with the retail, we call it the retail scale unit, a terrible name. But it enables a retail customer that might have a store in a location that has some spotty network connectivity, or they just aren't comfortable with running a full distributed cloud across all of their retail store sites, and they have certain locations that they're very interested in running a local instance in case they lose connectivity. If a retailer loses connectivity to a cloud service, they pull out the paper credit card readers and all is good, right? This allows them to keep doing transactions, and then the minute connectivity is back up, we're back up and running a cloud instance. So with Cloud Plus Edge, we're still in developer preview with that. We're going to stay in developer preview with that as we sort out the additional scenarios. Right? There are lots of different scenarios here, and it's not just Cloud Plus Edge as Edge being on-prem. In many cases, if someone is doing local business data and doing an on-prem deployment, it's actually the cloud that's the edge. So how do we look at those scenarios and enable those scenarios and drive those scenarios with customers? And even to the case of a customer that may want to deploy, a cloud-to-cloud type, where they've got an edge node on the cloud and the core node on the cloud. So we're continuing to work with customers and drive down those scenarios to bring additional value over time to you. So we're real excited about it, but there's a lot of work, a lot of working with customers on specific scenarios around Cloud Plus Edge. Lastly, business time, anytime, anywhere. I want to save some time for questions. So this is about, we're HTML5 browser based, cross-browser compatible. We're in 34 countries, a ton of languages. We have a mobile app framework that we delivered last fall that we continually enhance, and we deliver some of the basic framework applications to you. But you're then able to go with a click a button and configuration within Dynamics 365. If you're an admin, you can turn any element of the application into a mobile app. I'm going to touch on compliance. As I mentioned, in the past and still with some of our competitors in market, when there's a regulatory update, so there's a new, every year there are payroll requirements that change. And so they deliver a hotfix for that regulatory update. The customer actually has to apply that, test it, make sure it works, and then configure their processes, and off they go. We now do that through GER, what we call General Electronic Reporting, which is a configuration-based compliance update with effective date. You basically apply a configuration, no code update, and off you go. And then we've built on top of that a tax engine on top of GER that we're in early work with. For if you've heard, India is doing global sales tax, or just started in July or August with global sales tax. And so our first implementation with our global tax engine is the most difficult tax environment in the world right now. So we're getting trial by fire there, and then we'll make the GTE engine available to customers later this year. And then we're working on how do we deliver compliance as a service, regulatory updates as a service? How do we as we look at our roadmap, how do we drive, with the power of the cloud, the ability to actually give you compliance search, compliance updates, allow you to subscribe to certain things for your particular environment and regulatory environment, and provide you that specific detail around that. So more work going on around how we can do that. I think that's a truly differentiated experience. As I mentioned, the mobile framework. So within the application, you can take any form, any workspace, any list page, turn that into a mobile application, make that available to your employees through our app in the App Store and Android and Windows Phone. Okay. And then lastly, not going to drain this too much, but the business application platform that sits underneath this. With Power BI, we showed you the power of embedded Power BI. But with the Common Data Service, which all of Dynamics 365 will run on and runs on, with Power Apps and Flow. So as we build out those extension points, I think Dave Frosley, I'll share that there's someone on our team that has a session this week around extensibility of Dynamics 365 for finance and operations. That we'll talk about how Power Apps and Flow and our extension points are how you can build these, if you will, citizens developer purpose-built apps to extend, create, if you will, customizations within your environment and embed those directly within the application so they seem like part of the application, and also make them available as mobile apps. So I'm just going to go back in time a year ago when we launched Dynamics 365 as a name, which kind of encompassed Dynamics AX in our CRM apps. When we initially launched AX in the cloud, we had a limited geographical footprint. We brought the rest of our geos forward. I think India and Russia are the only two in process right now that we're bringing out over in the future. But we added the mobile app framework, embedded Power BI, a bunch of new functionality that we delivered. And then, as I mentioned, the retail store scale unit. In July, we launched Talent with Core HR Attract and Onboard. Dynamics 365 for retail is packaging, retail extensibility. So part of that retail service is it is now a cloud-safe extension application. No code overlaying, so it's extensibility, and we have a bunch of partners that are working in a pure extensibility model. So now we can keep that app and continuously update that app and keep our customers current and relevant. Some additional, we launched local business data, a bunch of new mobile apps, cash flow forecasting, new CFO workspace that Eugene showed you, kind of where the evolution of that CFO workspace is going, visual scheduling, and then a number of things within LCS that help you and a partner manage your own infrastructure. What's next for a cloud service and cloud platform? We have about 6 different areas that we focus on. It's that cloud-safe application extensions. So we're looking towards the spring as when we want a fully extensible application that allows customers from that point on to be continually updated. We're working on a lot around how can we drive implementations to be more rapid, higher quality, and more consistent. So there's a number of things there across data replication, copy, company copy, legal entity. We have customers that have 85 legal entities, and they want that data replicated across all those company configurations. Continuing to drive more value, both into how we enable local business data and the tie to LCS for some of that management of the local instance, as well as Cloud plus Edge, as I mentioned, those Cloud plus Edge scenarios, and continuing to drive those Cloud plus Edge, Edge being on-prem, Edge being the cloud, and cloud to cloud scenarios. Continuing, we have a lot of customers that are on previous versions of our applications. How do we bring them to the cloud so they can take advantage of all this good stuff that we have? And then additional stuff on cloud scale. We are constantly taking the best of what Azure is delivering and bringing that forward into our platform for our customers and partners to take advantage of the scale that Azure gives us and the scale that Microsoft gives us. It's everything from new data centers and being able to deploy in those new data centers, as well as the compliance aspect of certifications. So that depending on what industry you're in, what regulatory compliance you have, with Azure and Dynamics 365, we can deliver you those capabilities. And then in the application and across those 4 pivots, 4 themes I talk about, what's next? We showed you financial reporting insights. So if you're a customer and you're familiar with MR, Management Reporter, let's get into the next evolution of MR in the cloud, with intelligence, with Power BI, with machine learning that are driving additional value to you. It's not just reporting, it's insights. A lot more personalization in the application. Intelligent operations, which we'll demo here in a moment, and it we'll call embedded insights and talent insights. So with the talent application, in addition to delivering new applications and starting our journey on building out a full end-to-end set of talent experiences, it's the data and insights that you get off of the LinkedIn graph, off of the Office graph, and off of the data that sits in Dynamics 365. More in productive experiences, so within retail, distributed order management and full store fulfillment are things that we're working on with a small set of customers that we're going to be delivering to all customers in that. Additional work on vendor collaboration and how we manage vendor bids and quotes. In the Power of Cloud Scale, as I mentioned, going from this fall and into next spring, it's about moving to a fully extensible application, which allows us to actually deliver continuous updates to Dynamics 365, decouple partner solutions from the core, allow us to innovate at pace and deliver customer agility and value continuously. As I mentioned, the continuous update, continued work on update and migration, rapid onboarding, and additional work that we're doing within business process modeling, within lifecycle services, to give you as a customer and partner more powerful tools to map your specific processes before you deploy or as you deploy. GDPR, everybody's on top of GDPR. May 1st of next year, a lot of things that we need to do to enable customers. We uptake a lot of the value that we get out of some of the Azure and Microsoft technology, but we have a team that's driving our GDPR support and compliance that will be driving both compliance activities, documentation, as well as functionality that will help our customers to stay relevant and current to GDPRs. And then, as I mentioned, we're working on the global tax engine in India with a select set of customers right now, and that'll be coming out a little bit later. So with that, I want to set up our last demo and then hopefully have a couple of minutes for questions. We're looking at what is the future of intelligence within business applications. You've probably heard of Salesforce Einstein, SAP Leonardo. I don't know why everybody is picking dead smart people. But we have a fictitious Halo character, Cortana, in our intelligent platform. But it's about, one of these things that we've had within Microsoft is platform technology. We have a lot of great, fantastic technology. And that technology is part of a platform. But as a customer, you're the one that has to figure out, and your partner has to figure out how to connect all that stuff together to gain value in a business process. we are bringing, we call it the intelligence bridge, but we're bringing that capability directly within the application, giving you a set of defined integrations, defined set of technology, defined set of platform capabilities that'll infuse that technology directly in the business process. So you can just start using it and gain value. And then if you have enhanced capabilities, right, there's connection of your, like, take the smart sensors and IoT. There's a lot of different formats of that. So the IoT gateway will take care of that, but we'll connect that data in. We'll connect that data into Cortana Intelligence, and we'll connect that data into the business process and give you instant value in a connected scenario. Lots of work to do across all these pivots. I'm not going to drain it, but I wanted to give you a snapshot of where we're thinking. There's a lot of new technology that's going to influence us over the next year or two. Internet of Things and machine learning we've been talking about for maybe a couple of years now, but it's now starting to hit mainstream. And how do we enable that? Bot services, have been probably coming in the last year, and then blockchain, specifically in supply chain and finance around product provenance and traceability and lot traceability. There's some value there, right? We're at nascent stages of that technology, but we need to be able to bring value to you as a customer. So we're going to do the last demo, intelligent operations. Eugene, you want to come up? But what we're showing here is connecting a set of smart devices in a machine monitoring perspective, how that impacts both the back office and the factory, and how we can use IoT Central and Dynamics 365 together to solve a production issue. Right? We have a machine going down. How do we look at how that impacts our production schedule, delivery schedule, and allow the customer to actually tune their processes to actually deliver value to the customer?
All right. So let's take a look at how we not only are connecting the machines through the IoT hub and their sensors, but we're also meshing up the data to derive meaningful insight. So in this picture, you see a depiction of our production floor with the machines. As soon as we connect the machines, we get the sensor data from it and the readings that go along with it. But typically, the readings don't mean anything unless you have that specialized knowledge of how the machine is supposed to work. We are adding data that comes from our other systems as to how many active jobs are there, what's the productivity of that machine, how is the quality of the output, and all that. For this demo, I'll be a production manager that is about to go on vacation. And I come in the morning and I see that something is not right. One of the machines is playing up, and I want to investigate further. Oh, security. Yes. We are quite secure. So what is going to appear there is a machine with all its sensor data and the production orders that are right now going on that machine. We see that there is a huge spike in temperature and a power consumption. And what it means is that the machine is probably seizing up, and my production orders are in jeopardy. I am manufacturing one order right there, and there are a couple more that are allocated to this machine. So I need to quickly make a decision so that I don't piss off my customers or salespeople. Within Dynamics, we have a definition of each machine's capability as well as the routings for these machines. So when we manufacture certain items, we already know which machines we can use. And that gives us a variety of options. And not all of the machines are equally effective. So even if I reroute, there's going to be different outcomes and results. By default, the system strives to deliver the most orders. But when I analyze the other data, and let me make it a little bit bigger. When I analyze the other data, I can see that there is going to be some predicted scrap, and I'm not entirely happy about running that scrap, so I want to investigate another option which minimizes the predicted scrap. I can see that I'm going to work a little bit overtime. However, I'm going to miss timely delivery on 4 orders, which people might not be happy about. As a customer-centric organization, I want to take into account the demands of the other departments. And this way, I can take advantage of the customer classification in our system and deliver first to the most important customers. When I confirm suggestion, the system does a reroute, and we can investigate the impact of the reroute. So we know that some orders have been rescheduled to other machines, and we see a very important bit of information, which is a salesperson. And if I zoom out a little bit, I can see that David's orders are going to be delayed for David. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go on vacation. And find the iPhone. So while I'm on the beach, like many of us, I cannot stop thinking about work. And luckily, I do not have to log into my manufacturing system to find out whether that machine was fixed and how things are going there. So I don't have to anymore, because we taught Cortana with the Skills SDK some new tricks. Let's listen in. Not to this.
Oop, try that again.
Ask Dynamics about machine 1225.
It is running order P000190, producing 5 pieces of soundbar X250. The order is for Pelican Wholesales and due for delivery on October 23rd, 2017.
So this way, I'm able to keep up with the work. And I also, that's good news, because I can call my buddy David and tell him that the order is going to arrive with a slightly less delay than expected. So, as you see, the visibility into production metrics is increasingly important in our world of automation. And ability to keep up with my manufacturing is very important. And we are meshing up data, working hard on bringing IoT data into Dynamics 365 so that we could make some intelligent decisions. Thank you.
All right, we have about 2-3 minutes. You know, the last couple of slides here more about ideas. That's where you go. Tell us your ideas. We'll collaborate with you there on them. We'll deliver them. Vote, upvote, downvote, do all that kind of cool stuff. Roadmap.dynamics.com. Some of the stuff I showed you today isn't quite up there yet. We'll get it up there. We update that roadmap on a monthly basis. So we're giving you some vision, you know, a little with this last demo that's a little bit further out. So you won't see some of that stuff out on the roadmap yet, not for a little time. And then I'm going to pitch AppSource again. But I think it's a pretty powerful tool for customers and partners to kind of find solutions. So other sessions, I'll leave this up here. If you have questions, go to the microphone. I'll stick around a little bit afterwards as well if you just want to come up and one-on-one. But do we have any just hot questions about what we talked about today? Yes, sir. Yeah.
How do we know that the continuous updates won't break customizations as opposed to right now there's a big testing cycle, as you know, when we upgrade?
Sure.
Does that change? Do we do smaller testing cycles, or is it just all going to work?
I would love to say it's just all going to work. So part of that is, obviously, if you're in a deployment today and you have code overlaying, so you've done overlaying of your code, we'll work with you and your partner. We're working with partners every day, and as I mentioned, there's a, which one right there? Oh, maybe I don't have it on this one. But there is extensibility session where Dave will talk about that. We're working with partners to get them to extensions so that we can get you off of the code overlay that they've done and the customization done onto extensions. And once you're on extensions and a full extension deployment, Then the actual act of upgrading you is more about, we have all the tools in telemetry and automation that we can run against your environment on that update to let you know, here are the changes, right? If you're currently code overlaid, we'll run a test against that and tell you, here are the challenges you might have. We need to go fix those before you apply the update. Or if you do apply the update, recognize this is what's going to change. So we have automation and tools that allow you to do that. But one of the things is getting you on to cloud safe extensions first. And once you're on cloud safe extensions going forward, continuous update. And we're not going to force that update on you. In other words, we don't ship it and automatically it shows up. We give you the flexibility within your environment to actually when you take those up. If a retailer, we do a fall update. It's fall in Northern Hemisphere, but we do an update in October of every year. There's no retailer on the planet that's going to take an update of software before Thanksgiving weekend in North America, right? Just Black Friday alone. They probably won't do it until after Valentine's Day in February from a volume and returns perspective. So, any other questions? Yes, sir. Absolutely, yeah. We work MCS, Microsoft Services. We work continually and constantly on that. We also have a lot of partners that we support because they manage their particular customers. But absolutely, we do. Okay. Well, I think we're at or 1 minute over time. I appreciate your time today. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of hit the rest of our sessions. Look forward to it.